Are your sales reps missing their numbers month after month after month? Are you tired of hearing excuses instead of actual results? Here's the truth. Most sales VPs and execs are running their quarterly business reviews completely wrong. Now, I've coached the #1 rep at Salesforce, Tableau, HubSpot, and dozens of other Fortune 100 companies, and I've discovered that elite sales organizations all use a specific framework for their quarterly business reviews that separates them from everybody else. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to structure a quarterly business review that creates accountability, improves forecast accuracy, and drives real results. Now, this isn't theory. This is the exact framework I used to run with $195 million in a year P&L with over 100 sales professionals. Hey, I'm Marcus Shan, CEO of Bentley Consulting Group. If you're new here, we help sales professionals and sales leaders crush their numbers through elite sales strategies and frameworks that actually work in the real world. Now, today we're talking about quarterly business reviews, a tool that most sales VPs and execs, frankly, completely botch. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how the top 1% of leaders use this framework to drive consistent results. First, let's talk about why most QBRs actually fail. The reality is a quarter is far too long to wait to have each rep and team to actually update and provide a forecast. And I remember at a new sales VP, and I was used to quarterly forecasts and business reviews. And he challenged me and said, "Hey Marcus, how accurate is your team usually to what they promised for the quarter?" The reality was it was always off by 10, 20, 30%, or even more some of the reps. And then he said something that really burned into my brain. He said, "Hey Marcus, most people overestimate what they can do in a longer time horizon, and they underestimate what they can do in a shorter time horizon. A quarter is far too long and only gives you 4 times a year for a rep to reflect and actually pivot. If we change it to a monthly business review, it's top of mind and gives you 12 times a year to reflect and pivot if necessary." And that's when it hit me. It's why most people never stick to their New Year's resolutions. I mean, after the first month, they've already forgotten. But if they plan a 30-day challenge for anything, chances go up for success. So the very first recommendation is to change the cadence from a quarterly to a monthly business review that is done at the end of each month and forecasting for the upcoming month. Now, another big mistake is that most sales leaders run reviews that are backward-looking and ineffective. They focus only on what happened last month or quarter rather than creating forward momentum. They accept vague forecasts like challenging them, and they never separate a commitment from aspiration. And the biggest problem is that there's no real accountability system. Reps can give you fluff numbers quarter after quarter or month after month with zero consequences. Now, if this sounds familiar, you're not alone. So here are the 3 components of what separates elite sales organization. Number 1, a 2-number system. Elite organizations separate commitments from stretch goals. Now, to make sure we're on the same page, a commitment is defined as their take to the bank number that the reps and team absolutely guarantee they'll hit. This is essentially their forecast, but it's intentionally worded as commitment, as it's your do or die number. Then you have the second number, which is the stretch goal, the if everything goes right aspiration number. And I want to make a big note that it's intentionally 2 different numbers separated out with really clear definitions. You want the reps and teams to aim for that stretch goal, but with the guarantee they'll hit their commitment at the very worst case scenario. I remember over a decade ago when I first made this change to separate out the commitment from the stretch goal, it was amazing how much more accurate the forecast actually became. Now, the second component is visual accountability. You want to track commitments versus actuals over time in a visible format. And I'll show you an example in the next section. Because when reps consistently miss their commitments in a very visual way, it becomes painfully obvious to everybody. This also creates massive self-awareness and peer pressure to be far more accurate, especially when you're holding them accountable. The third piece is forward planning. Reviews aren't about what just happened, they're about specific actions for the future. Because yes, they'll discuss what the prior commitment was for the prior month and what they actually finished at. They'll talk about their future committed number and their stretch goals, but they're also going to tie in specific activities tied directly to results. And I'll show you what I mean in a little bit with a very simple tool that you can implement literally ASAP with your team. So let's get super tactical on how you actually truly implement this. Now, I feel like most execs that I talk to, that when they have their teams do their QBRs or their MBRs, they're usually have their team put together like a Google slide deck to present to the team. It's this whole dog and pony show. Instead, we're going to completely scrap that. And we want a really simple one pager that they can pull up and walk through. So let me dive behind my screen and let's go through it together. So here's a really simple tool that I use with one of my clients, a tech company down in California. And there's a couple of key components, right? So we can ignore this top section for now. This is year-to-date numbers. But we first mentioned the separating out the commitment versus stretch goal. And we have two sections you can see here: forecast commitment versus actual, and stretch goal versus actual. Let's dive into forecast commitment first. So if I open this up, and let me scroll up a little bit, right? And you can see in here, immediately, there's a lot of colors here because the numbers will actually calculate out for you. But you'll see, for example, here's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And what you'll have your reps do is they'll actually put in here their commitment for each month. And then as the month completes, what was their actual results? And you can see here, it can calculate very quickly for you. Now, this is a made up example here, but imagine you have a rep who pulled this up and they're trying to tell you that their upcoming month commitment for the month is $100,000. They say, hey, boss, hey, Mr. and Mrs. CRO, Mr. and Mrs. Sales Exec, I'm going to commit to you $100,000. Now, when you take a look at this and you've seen in April, they missed it by 733%. You know, they did hit over in March, but they missed completely in February by 33%. They missed it by 100% in January. How confident are you in this actual commitment? But now put yourself in the shoes of an account executive who's filling this out. When they see what they've been committing to and how far off they are, this becomes very, very painful to want to commit to that type of number. Because at the end of the day, when they know they don't have the pipeline to actually generate the results there, they can take different actions or you can coach them accordingly. So you can see how powerful this can be as a tool for your team, right? So it's very, very simple to use on this section in which at the end of each month, all they're doing is going to update their actual for what they completed and then what their upcoming commitment is. So again, very powerful when you see all this, and also very powerful in your monthly business review when they pull this up and they're walking through how they performed in April and they have to tell the team why they missed their number and then what they're committed to for the upcoming month. This creates a lot of peer pressure and internal pressure from the team and them to actually be better at their job, but to know the numbers more and to take different actions. This is how you start to lead through systems that you create as part of it. So again, this is the commitment. So ideally, if you're doing this consistently, and we'll talk about some more stuff you can do as well, because this is one tool in your tool bag as an exec, this will help drive forecast accuracy as a result. Then there's the next section, right? Then there is the actual stretch goal. So you can kind of see here, this actually, they put the stretch goals in here. All the actuals actually kind of come over because of how I built this tool. You can also build your own tool, but I'll only give you some inspiration here. But you can see here, if I was this rep here, I could see I'm completely missing every commitment I basically have set out there, except for the month of March. And then I completely missed every single stretch goal. So this becomes very painful for me to look at, but this would force me as a account executive to step up my game and to change what I'm doing and to know my numbers far better. So now I'm far less likely if I saw this in real time, like, well, okay, I probably shouldn't commit to all these numbers because the reality is I'm not even getting close to my commitment. So let me get better at my job and know my numbers far better. So you can see how powerful this can be as well. And then the third piece that we have also on here is going to be additional what's called BHAGs for the quarter. This is a term I learned years ago. It means big, hairy, audacious goal. But essentially, these are just big goals they might have for the quarter. So let me kind of open this up to kind of see it right. So here, ideally, these are BHAGs or big goals that you want your team to write down and actually put on paper. That's not just, I want to hit my number. What does it actually mean for them, right? So for example, what would they drive towards they knew they could not fail? All right. Maybe it's commission-based. Maybe it's become the number one rep. Maybe it's pay off the mortgage. Maybe it sends kids to private school. Doesn't really matter. But these should be goals that are far bigger. Because ultimately, when you're leading a team and you're leading towards their own big, hairy, audacious goals that personally mean a lot to them, they're going to hit your number as a byproduct. That's just a reality. This is actually why, as a leader, I've only led my teams towards what's most important to them, because I knew if they got to that number, if they were able to make $500,000 and they're able to retire their spouse and they're able to take dream vacations, I knew they'd hit their number and they hit President's Club. it became a byproduct. I would hit my number as a result of that, of them achieving their own personal goals. That's a cool part. So I want them to list out and really think through what their BHAGs are. This might say the same for them each month or quarter, right? But I put quarter here intentionally because usually they're bigger. I want them to think big here, right? Very intentionally. But also then this next section, which is what are the top 1 to 3 specific reasons why they will accomplish these BHAGs. So these would be specific reasons they'll drive and take action regardless, right? And this could be, again, this has to be an inner drive, because at the end of the day, you can't force them to have drive. If you have to force your employees to have drive, they're probably not the right hire, because either they have the drive or they don't. So you want them to really think through and get clear on what really drives them. And then also, what are the top 3 specific and quantifiable actions they will do daily to drive towards the BHAGs? These could be physical, emotional, etc. It could be anything from reviewing the goals daily to identifying new accounts daily or weekly, executing on cold calls, whatever, but they're very tactical here. So this takes their big BHAGs and plus their stretch goals with the going after the commitment, and it puts into action what they're actually going to do. This is very, very powerful. So this way, you're getting to think through their end desired result, but also how do they actually get there? So you can see once they fill this out completely, this is a one sheet they can print out and put in their home office, at their in-office desk, wherever. They can look at every single month with the newest ones to hold themselves accountable. This is just a very powerful visual reminder. And also you can make your own version. You can add things, you can move things, you can add more input if you like. But ultimately, this is a tool designed to help serve you and themselves to hit towards the goals they want, from their commitments to their actual stretch goals too. So next, let's talk tactically. How do you actually implement this consistently, whether you use this tool or something very similar? So here's what I recommend. So I usually recommend scheduling a monthly business review for the last Monday of each month. All right. And each rep is going to come prepared. The whole form is filled out. They're filling out their prior commitments or the prior actuals and their upcomings as well. Okay. They're going to pull up and they're going to share their screen. They're going to have this all filled out, ready to go, just like this. And they're going to walk through this whole thing in very simple. Like they're going to walk through their year-to-date numbers. They're going to walk through their commitment, right? They can just do the prior month and then talk about what's going on. So for instance, it might sound simple. If it was me, I might say, okay, let's say these are my results. Well, last month I committed to $100,000. Yet unfortunately, I fell at $12,000. I'm not going to make any excuse. I didn't do a good job forecasting, but for the month of May, I've already received paperwork for $75,000 already. And also have 3 more deals that supposed to pop as well. So I feel very good committed to $100,000 as my take to the bank number for the month of May. And now for my stretch for May, my stretch is I'm actually going to shoot for $150,000. If I close everything in my pipeline, I will get there, but I'm going to at least guarantee $100,000 to the team. So notice even how I'm verbally committing, it's to the team as well, right? I'm doing in front of all my peers. This is being shared as well, okay? And here's the thing. Don't be afraid to challenge them in real time. So if you don't believe what they're saying, if they're committed to a certain dollar amount, but they're sandbagging or whatever, you can challenge them. So for instance, it's like, hey, Ed, you're committed to $500,000, but don't you have the $450K or just get back the paperwork from legal literally like today? What's your real commitment? So it's okay to challenge them if it's too low or too high in real time. And also, allow your team to drive them too. And I've been doing this for years. It's amazing what you hear from the team. When the team sees some like a sandbag number, they say, oh, hey, Marcus, I don't know why you committed to that amount. We know you've always signed deals you haven't turned in yet. Allow them to also drive that too. This is very powerful when you do it together. Because ultimately the goal is everyone hits their number so they can challenge each other in a fun way too. All right, so allow that to actually happen. So literally they go through, you feel free to challenge them as well. Then they'll go through the BHAG section as well, which is really important. Now, what I do highly recommend is, as a leader, is as you're gathering their commitments and stretch goals, you have a separate sheet pulled up, for example, something like this, and you're just adding in their commitments and stretch goals so you can tally up towards what they're actually going for. Because sometimes you may find that the overall commitment they're committing to is going to fall short from your actual projection of the number you need to be at. And at that point, you can challenge the team and ask for more. This is where you work as a team. It's not to say, hey, team, you all suck. We're still up $100,000. I need you to step up. It's saying, hey, team, listen, let's be really transparent here. These are great commitments. Here's where we're at right now, total for, let's call it $1 million for the month as a team. That's great. Our target's actually $1.2 million. So I need your help. who can take a look at your pipeline, look at your numbers real quick, who can step up and commit to some more, and then stop talking. It's amazing what happens at that point. You'll see the teams that are kind of talking out, kind of strategizing a little bit, and they'll start talking about, hey, Bobby, what about this one deal? What about this? What about that? And you'll see each of them start inching towards it together to get to that, right? Now, if you want to make it really, really fun, this is what I usually did. I'll drive people towards a stretch goal. I'll say, hey, listen, so with your all, everyone's stretch goal is 1.8 million, based off the numbers you guys all provide as well. Tell you what, when we hit 1.8 million, what should we do to celebrate? And we'll set some team goals to celebrate some sort of fun way to really drive towards that. Because ultimately the goal is, when you get to the stretch goal, you know you'll blow a number out of the water, right? So this is a powerful thing to kind of do on the spot to add everything together for the commitments to stretch goals, challenge them in real time, close the gaps collectively, but just create that healthy competition and team accountability. Now, the key to all this is consistency, all right? Don't implement this for a month and then abandon it. It's not going to work then. But elite organizations follow this cadence religiously for at least 60, 90 days before it becomes part of their culture, right? And they're, of course, making sure they have consistent one-on-ones, team meetings, and trainings all throughout as well. Because reality is, when reps know they'll be held accountable to their forecast every single month in front of their peers, the quality of the forecast improves dramatically. Now, I want to just hammer home the point. This isn't about punishment. It's about creating a high performance culture where everybody owns their results, because you know when you miss your forecast, there are consequences to it. And you're not going to roll it downhill and be angry at the team. We want to create systems like this so we can increase accountability and drive performance, improve that culture across the board. So I want to iterate. The monthly business review framework, it's not complicated. It's actually very simple by design. But that simplicity is what makes it so powerful. It forces your team to confront reality, to take ownership, and think strategically about their territory. If you're a sales VP, CR sales exec, improving forecast accuracy and driving consistent results, implement this framework in your next monthly meeting. I promise you'll see an immediate improvement in quality conversations and, more importantly, your team's performance. Now, before you go, if you want more frameworks likely to implement immediately improve your sales organization, book a call with us using the link in the description. We specialize in helping established sales teams with over 25 reps dramatically improve performance. Now, if you found this valuable, make sure that like button, subscribe for more content like this every single week. And also drop a comment with your biggest takeaway or question. This is Marcus Shan, and I'll see you in the next one.